The Formula 2 Championship is the place to be if you want to get to know the next generation of Formula 1 drivers before they ever reach the grid. But with the 2021 Formula 2 Championship, there's been a problem that means that the champion will probably not see a Formula 1 car in 2022. Hey, what's going on everyone? Vasco here, and in this video let's explore why. So as I talked about before, the Formula 2 Championship is one of the best championships you can watch. Not only does it race alongside Formula 1 in the same weekends and the same tracks, but you get to know the future drivers and the future faces of Formula 1 before they ever reach the grid. And even better, you can compare them in the same cars. So in Formula 2, the cars is a spec series, so the cars are all the same. So it's very easy to compare the drivers, whilst in Formula 1 it can be really tricky to get a comparison between, let's say, George Russell and Lewis Hamilton. Because in Formula 1, two drivers can be in the same level, but unless they are in the same car and the same team and there's no number one and number two relationship, you can never evaluate apple for apple who is better. This is one of the great things of Formula 2 and Formula 3 for that matter, is that you can compare the drivers head to head against each other, and then once they reach Formula 1, even if they are in a backmarker team, you have a full idea of their potential. And this year the Formula 2 Championship is not lacking any talent. So leading the championship is Oscar Piastri, which is a driver that, just like Charles Leclerc and George Russell before him, is leading the Formula 2 Championship on his debut season, and just like those two, has won the Formula 3 Championship on his debut season. So he won the Formula 4 Championship, the Formula 3 Championship, and now he's winning the Formula 2 Championship on his debut season. So he's a very adaptable driver and he's very, very quick, and this is the perfect recipe for Formula 1 team. So you can see with Russell and Leclerc, they both did the same thing as Piastri is doing, and look at their performances in Formula 1. And some drivers with a slightly worse curriculum, just like Lando Norris and Alex Albon, also do a great job in Formula 1, even though they didn't win those championships. But with drivers like Piastri, you can see that their junior Formula careers indicate that they will be great in the future. So what is the big problem for Piastri in 2022 that means he will probably not get the Formula 1 seat? Well, in my opinion, the biggest problem he's facing is that the Formula 2 calendar is ridiculous, honestly. And by ridiculous, I don't mean that the track selection has been bad or that the series has not been competitive. Quite on the contrary, the series has been very competitive and the track selection has been really good actually. But the calendar timings have been utterly terrible, and let me explain what I mean by this. So let me get my notes in order to explain to you why the Formula 2 Championship has been so ridiculous and why Piastri will probably not get to Formula 1 in 2022. So between rounds 1 and 2 of Formula 2 this year, there was a full 55 days between races, and this just kills any momentum that the drivers that win the first race can have, because 55 days is a long time between races, but I'm just getting started. So between rounds 2 and 3, there were only 15 days, which is normal. It's like a weekend off. It's normal for Formula 1 races even, so there's no problem with that. But between round 3 and 4, there was a full 42 days between the races. Now, I don't know about you, but I cannot keep track of a championship that's so far apart. It was one of my main problems with the Formula E championship as well, is that they space the races so much that you just can't keep track of your championship, you can't keep the championship flow alive, and then once a new race starts, it feels like the beginning all over again and you don't really remember the championship order. But then again, between rounds 3 and 4, as I said, 42 days. Between rounds 4 and 5, 56 days, so the longest gap by far. And between round 5 and 6, 15 days again. So no problems between rounds 5 and 6, but again, between rounds 4 and 5, 56 days, that's just too much. But the big problem comes in right between rounds 6 and 7. So we have just had round 6 at Sochi right alongside the Formula 1 Grand Prix, and round 7 will be the championship decider. So you still have 3 or 4 drivers with a shot of the title, with Oscar Piastri being the favorite, and then Guan Yu Zhou in second, and then Theo Porcher, which is also a rookie, is also getting a lot of momentum, so you can mount a championship fight. But between round 6 and 7, which are two crucial rounds to know who the Formula 2 Championship will be, there will be a massive 77 days or 10 weeks between rounds. Now, not only does this destroy the championship flow and doesn't allow the drivers to keep their momentum, this also destroys any chance of any of them getting a Formula 1 seat, except maybe for Guan Yu Zhou. Because Formula 1 teams really want to assess who will be the champion right until the end, and honestly, with these bigger gaps in the calendar, Formula One teams cannot assess how good the driver is at keeping momentum, at handling the championship fight pressure, because with 10 weeks to rest, you can probably handle the pressure a lot better than if you have 1 or 2 weeks between rounds and the pressure is there every single day. But I want to give you some context. So in Formula One, the longest break was during the summer break, which was 26 days. So the current Formula One summer break would be actually only the third smallest gap between Formula 2 races if you put it in the championship. And in Formula 3, the biggest gap was only 59 days, which, don't get me wrong, it's a big break, but there's no risk of a driver jumping from Formula 3 to Formula 2. So by just ending the Formula 3 championship before the Formula 2 one, you are ensuring that the champion can get a seat in Formula 2. Because one of the rules that's really screwing this over is that the Formula 3 and Formula 2 championships cannot race in the same series after they won. So Piastri, for instance, is leading the Formula 2 championship, and if he wins, he will not be able to race either in Formula 3 or in Formula 2 because he already won both championships. So if he doesn't get a Formula 1 seat, he will need to find a seat elsewhere in a series that's further away from Formula 1 than either Formula 2 or Formula 3. And then next year, Piastri will be away from the limelight and away from the show, away from the Formula 1 circuit, and then another driver like Théo Pourchaire can steal the show and then get a Formula 1 seat while Piastri gets left in the sidelines. And I'm honestly blaming all of this in the Formula 2 calendar, and I don't know why they designed it with so many breaks. Now, I know that there have been a few changes and that COVID doesn't help, but still, the Formula 2 championship needs to be treated as what it is. It's the step right before Formula 1, and if you see this as a ladder, Formula 3 to Formula 2 to Formula 1, then drivers need to be dealt with some respect. And you cannot have regular breaks of 50 days between races, and then right at the end of the championship, when everything is wide open to decide who the champion will be, have a 10-weekend break between the races. I think that this is just unacceptable, and this will ruin any chances of any Formula 2 driver that isn't a paid driver to get into Formula 1 this year. Because whilst this break has been happening, the Formula 1 drivers have been filling in, and now there's only one Formula 1 race seat available at Alfa Romeo, and it's very unlikely that Piastri, an Alpine driver, will get it. But the breaks in the Formula 2 championship just meant that the Formula 1 teams could not risk signing a Formula 2 driver during the big announcements of the likes of George Russell going to Mercedes or Valtteri to Alfa Romeo or Kimi retiring, because teams just don't know if the drivers are going to have enough super license points in order to get the Formula 1 seat. The Formula 2 drivers have really been done some wrong here by not being able to show themselves and by not getting the chance even to get the super license once the Formula 1 seats are opening. So this is why I think that the Formula 2 championship this year has been a disgrace, and why I think that unfortunately a great driver like Piastri won't get a Formula 1 shot in 2022. Well, this has been it for this video, and if you enjoyed, please don't forget to hit the like button and maybe the subscribe button if you want to see more videos like this and if you learned something about Formula 2. So if you enjoyed this video, why not watch my last video right here? And I really hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you in the next one. So this has been it for this video, and until then, goodbye.